Now what we are going to do here in get users, let's say if I try to use one as parameter, if I show you in users list, uh, this I tried using ABCD, so that's why it is throwing error. If I remove ABCD from here, if I show you like what are the users we have, so we have 2 ID2 4 4 5 and so on, 3 4 5 and 6 7 8. Okay, we don't have ID1 here, right? So let's say if I try to get user 1, then what will happen? So in that case we are getting status code and message internal server error. Alright, and also in console log we are getting this much of some log. So we let's handle this. So we can handle it multiple way, like we can add try catch here in each method and try to handle each type of exceptions, but we are going to create a custom all exception filters here that will catch all the exceptions. So for that, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create one folder here in common, and I will name it as exception. And here in exception, what I'm gonna write, all exception filter.ts, and I will name it export class all exception filter implements exception filter, and I'll have to write it catch. Okay, now we will have to implement the methods which is there. Let me show you what are the methods. So we have one method here, catch, in exception filter. So if we override it, then we will be able to get all the details when when any error uh, happens in our application. This exception filter will catch it. We'll have to configure it in main.ts as a middleware, but here in this method we can catch it. So we are going to override this. So what we are going to do, we are going to get context first. So from how we can get context, so we can get it from host. So as we did earlier in interceptor, we are going to do it here as well. Let's do this way. And now we can get ctx dot get request, and also I can get response ctx dot get response. And then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create one variable is http exception, and then this exception, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use this exception. I will check whether this exception is an instance of http exception. Then this will be true if it is http exception, otherwise this will be false. So what I can do, I can define a status based on http exception, and if it is http exception, then what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna write http. I will parse it to http exception, since I know like this is http exception, so I can use methods on it this way, get response, get request, and these things. And next, otherwise what we can do, we can say status code will be http status dot internal server error, since we don't know like what it could be, anything else. So that's why I'm using internal server error here. And on message I can pass internal server error. I'm sorry. Now what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna create one variable for response payload, and this will be status code. So status code will be status, Next we'll have one variable property error, which I am marking it as true, so that in case let's say if you're building UI and you want to add some checks whether we are getting error or not, then we can easily add check on error property. And then timestamp, uh, we can get current time, we can convert it to ISO UTC time. And then path, how we can get path, so we already did it in interceptor. We get it from request, right? So we get it from request if I'm not wrong. And method, we also get it from request, so request dot method. And then what else we can do, last one is message. So type of error response, okay, so let's do one thing. Okay, I was trying to get status here, right? So this will be status, get status, not get response. I need to create one more variable for response as well. So let's say error response. I'll have to do same thing here, so I'm gonna copy paste it again. And this time if HTTP exception is there, then I'm going to get response. And then this will be status code internal server error. Okay, if this is not an HTTP exception, we are going to throw same thing. All right, okay, so let's say if error object error response is an object, then what we can do, we can get message out of it. Here, from here we can get message. Otherwise, if it is a string, then what we can do, we can directly show it. Else let's, so if this is an object, then we can get message out of it, and or just error message. And if this fails, then we will directly show error response. And otherwise, if it is not object, then again also we can show error response. Okay, for development we can use stack as well, but right now although let me type it, but I will comment it out so that if needed we can uncomment and see the stack logs in response. Okay, fine. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put logger error. So before I use logger, I need to initialize it here. So private read only logger equal to new logger, and here I need to put the class name. So I'm gonna paste class and dot name. I will have to import logger from NestJS common, and then I can just log error like this. Here what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use dollar request dot method, and first it will show method, then it will show request dot URL, and what else we can show json dot stringify. Okay, I'll have to keep it in I mean in curly bracket. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna use JSON dot, or since error, I think here in the logger error we can pass multiple parameters, I guess. So first one is message, second one is stack, and third one is context. So I will have to pass parameter based on this. So let me do it. So this would be a message, and let's put stack now. So what I can do, JSON dot stringify, this will be error response, or we can just print out response payload completely. And last one is exception filter. So we can provide context. So what is the context? So it's just a string, so I can pass it anything, like this is a exception filter, or what we can say, all exception filter. Now this should work, but before I test it, I need to configure it as a middleware in main.ts. So here what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use app.use global filter, and this time I will be using new all exception filter. I need to put return. So how we can respond back to client? So we can use status as we do it in Express. We are doing it similarly, response payload. Since this object response object is the same as we use it in Express, so under the hood Nest is also using Express.js. Okay, so I have done one mistake here. For status will not be passing this object. So this was done for error response. For status we need one value, right? So in that case we can just pass one number, that is internal server error, and this will give us a 500 as value. So now I will save it, and this should work. Yeah, now it is working. Now we are getting our error in proper format: status code, error, timestamp, path, method, and message. And if you see in console, we are getting error log properly. Okay, that was it from this video. In next video we will start working on login.